The snow fell in thick, determined flakes across downtown Boston as Monica Harper wrestled with her daughter's car seat buckle for the third time. Her hands trembled, not from the December cold seeping through her worn coat, but from the crushing realization that she was now 27 minutes late for a blind date she'd never wanted in the first place. "Mommy, why are you shaking?" 4-year-old Ruby asked, her curious green eyes reflecting the holiday lights strung across their apartment building's entrance. "Just cold, sweetheart," Monica lied, finally releasing the buckle and lifting her daughter into her arms. Ruby's babysitter, Mrs. Chen from upstairs, had called 15 minutes ago with the flu, leaving Monica scrambling to find alternative childcare on Christmas Eve, the worst possible night of the year. The blind date had been Caroline's idea. Monica's best friend since college had been relentless. "You haven't been on a date in 3 years, Mon. Not since that disaster with Ruby's father. This guy is perfect. Successful, kind, and he specifically asked to meet someone real, not another socialite." Monica had agreed only to stop Caroline's endless matchmaking attempts, never actually believing she'd go through with it. But here she was, 31 minutes late now, dropping Ruby off at her sister Jennifer's house in Cambridge, a 40-minute drive from the restaurant in the opposite direction. Her phone buzzed with another text from Caroline. "He's still there, drinking coffee and reading a book. Go!" Monica's stomach twisted. What kind of man waited this long for someone he'd never met? Either incredibly patient or dangerously desperate. She'd experienced enough of the latter to last a lifetime. The drive back downtown felt eternal. Boston traffic on Christmas Eve was a special kind of chaos. Last-minute shoppers, office parties letting out, families heading to church services. Monica's 10-year-old Honda coughed and sputtered at every red light, and she found herself bargaining with the universe. If this car dies tonight, she'd take it as a sign to turn around and go home. The car kept running. Bistro Lumiere sat tucked between a historic bookshop and a jazz club in Beacon Hill, its windows glowing with warm amber light. Through the frosted glass, Monica could see couples laughing over wine, families celebrating, the perfect Christmas Eve scene she'd once imagined for herself before life had other plans. She was now 46 minutes late. Monica checked her reflection in the rearview mirror and immediately regretted it. Her makeup, carefully applied 2 hours ago, had mostly rubbed off during the chaos with Ruby. Her dark hair, which she'd actually styled for once, had frizzed in the snow. The green dress she'd borrowed from Jennifer, the only remotely date-appropriate item she owned, was wrinkled from the car seat incident. She looked exactly like what she was, an exhausted single mother who had no business pretending she could still do this. Her finger hovered over her phone, ready to send an apologetic text and disappear into the night. But something stopped her. Maybe it was Caroline's voice in her head, reminding her that she deserved happiness. Maybe it was the memory of Ruby asking yesterday why she didn't have a daddy like her preschool friends. Or maybe it was simply the defiant part of her that refused to let Trevor, Ruby's father, who'd vanished the moment he learned about the pregnancy, define the rest of her life. Monica pushed open the restaurant door. The hostess, a young woman with a practiced smile, looked her up and down with barely concealed judgment. "Reservation name? I'm actually meeting someone. He should have been here for almost an hour now." Monica trailed off, suddenly certain he'd left. Who could blame him? "You must be Monica," a warm voice said from behind the hostess stand. She turned to find a man rising from a corner table, and her breath caught. He was tall, easily over 6 feet, with dark hair slightly silver at the temples, and eyes the color of aged whiskey. He wore a charcoal sweater and jeans, managing to look both casual and impossibly elegant. This couldn't be him. Men who looked like this didn't go on blind dates arranged by overeager friends. "I'm Harrison," he said, extending his hand. His smile reached his eyes, creating small lines at the corners that suggested he smiled often. "And before you apologize, please don't. My coffee was excellent, and I'm on the most compelling chapter of my book." Monica shook his hand, acutely aware of how cold hers felt. "I'm so sorry. My babysitter got sick at the last minute, and I had to drive across town, and the traffic. You have a child?" Harrison's expression shifted, but not in the way Monica expected. Instead of the usual retreat she'd seen on the few dates she'd attempted since Ruby's birth, something softened in his features. "How old?" "4. A daughter." Ruby. Monica braced herself for the polite excuse, the sudden remembered obligation, the check already paid, and the quick exit. She'd seen this routine enough times to know it by heart. "That's a beautiful name," Harrison said, pulling out her chair. "Please sit. You must be frozen." Monica sat, more from shock than anything else. As Harrison returned to his seat, she noticed the book beside his coffee cup. A worn copy of The Velveteen Rabbit. Not exactly typical reading material for a man who, according to Caroline, ran one of the most successful venture capital firms in New England. "You read children's books?" The question escaped before she could stop it. Harrison glanced at the book, and something flickered across his face. A shadow of old pain that disappeared so quickly Monica almost thought she'd imagined it. "It's a favorite of mine. I was actually reading it to, well, it's a long story. Better suited for a second date, perhaps." A second date. He was already thinking about a second date, and she'd been catastrophically late to the first one. The waiter appeared, and Monica ordered the first thing her eyes landed on, too flustered to actually read the menu. Harrison ordered with the ease of someone who'd been here before, then turned his full attention back to her. "So, tell me about Ruby," he said, and Monica realized with a start that he genuinely wanted to know. Not the polite, minimal inquiry most people made before changing the subject, but actual interest. She found herself talking, the words spilling out more easily than she'd expected. She told him about Ruby's obsession with dinosaurs, her upcoming role as a sheep in the preschool Christmas pageant, the way she insisted on wearing her purple rain boots regardless of the weather. Harrison listened with complete focus, asking questions, laughing at the right moments, his entire demeanor suggesting he had nowhere else he'd rather be. "What about you?" Monica finally asked, realizing she'd been monopolizing the conversation. "Caroline mentioned you're in venture capital." "I am," Harrison confirmed, "though it sounds more impressive than it is. Mostly I just decide which young entrepreneurs get a chance to chase their dreams." He paused, seeming to choose his next words carefully. "I started the firm 10 years ago, after my life took an unexpected turn. Building something new helped me make sense of everything. There it was again, that shadow of something deeper, something painful." Monica recognized it because she wore the same shadow herself. Their food arrived, and the conversation flowed with surprising ease. Harrison told her about his work, about the startups he'd funded that had become household names, about the ones that had failed but taught him more than the successes. He was self-deprecating and funny, with none of the arrogance Monica had expected from someone of his obvious wealth and success. "Can I ask you something?" Harrison said as they finished their meals. "And please feel free to tell me it's none of my business." Monica tensed. Here it came. The question about Ruby's father, about why she was single, about what had gone wrong in her life to land her here. "Why did you agree to this date?" Harrison asked instead. "Caroline mentioned you took some convincing." The honesty in his question deserved an honest answer. "Because I've been hiding," Monica admitted. "For 3 years I've used Ruby as an excuse not to put myself out there again. Not because taking care of her is an excuse. She's the best thing that ever happened to me. But because I was scared. Her father left the moment I told him I was pregnant, and I think part of me decided it was safer to just stop trying." "And what changed?" "Ruby asked me yesterday why she doesn't have a daddy." Monica's voice caught slightly, and I realized I've been so focused on protecting myself from getting hurt again that I forgot to show her what it looks like to be brave. Harrison was quiet for a moment, his expression thoughtful. "I think that's the bravest thing I've heard in a long time." The restaurant had begun to empty around them, families heading home for Christmas Eve traditions. Monica glanced at her phone and gasped. "It's almost 11. I didn't realize—" "Time flies," Harrison finished, signaling for the check. Monica reached for her purse, but Harrison gently waved her off. "Please, I've enjoyed this evening more than you know." As they stood to leave, Harrison helped Monica with her coat, a gesture so old-fashioned and courteous that it made her heart skip. They walked out into the snow, which had intensified, transforming Boston into a winter wonderland. "Can I walk you to your car?" Harrison asked. Monica nodded, and they made their way down the quiet street, their footsteps muffled by the fresh snow. She'd parked 3 blocks away, the closest spot she could find in her frantic rush. "Monica," Harrison said as they reached her Honda. He hesitated, seeming uncharacteristically uncertain. "I'd like to see you again, if you're open to that." "I'd like that too," Monica said, surprising herself with how much she meant it. Harrison smiled, that warm, genuine smile that transformed his entire face. He pulled out his phone. "May I have your number?" As Monica recited the digits, she noticed his phone screen. The wallpaper was a photo of a little boy, maybe 7 or 8 years old, with Harrison's same dark hair and bright smile. Before she could comment, Harrison quickly saved her number and pocketed the phone. "Merry Christmas, Monica," he said softly. "Drive safely." Monica drove home in a daze, her mind replaying every moment of the evening. She'd gone expecting nothing and found... what? Connection? Possibility? Something that felt dangerously close to hope? Her phone buzzed as she pulled into her sister's driveway. A text from an unknown number. "Thank you for giving me a chance tonight. I know I'm just a stranger who waited too long in a restaurant, but something tells me you might be worth waiting for. Harrison." Monica's hand shook again, but this time not from cold or fear. She'd been so certain she was done with this, done with hope, done with the terrifying vulnerability of letting someone in. But as she looked at Harrison's message, she felt something she hadn't experienced in 3 long years. She felt like maybe, just maybe, she could try again. What Monica didn't know, what she couldn't possibly know, was that Harrison had his own secrets, his own shadows that shaped every decision he made. And one of those secrets was about to change everything. Monica picked Ruby up from Jennifer's house at midnight, her daughter sleeping soundly against her shoulder. Her sister stood in the doorway, arms crossed, eyebrows raised in that knowing way only siblings could manage. "So," Jennifer whispered, "how was Mr. Mysterious Billionaire? His name is Harrison, and he was... surprising," Monica admitted, adjusting Ruby's weight. "He didn't seem bothered that I was late. He asked about Ruby. He actually listened." "And you're seeing him again?" Monica nodded, still somewhat disbelieving it herself. "He wants to take me to dinner next week." Jennifer's expression shifted from teasing to serious. "Mon, I'm happy for you. Really, but please be careful. You know how these things can go." Monica knew her sister meant well. Jennifer had been there through the Trevor disaster, had held Monica's hand through morning sickness and labor, had babysat countless times so Monica could work her 2 jobs to make ends meet. Jennifer had earned the right to worry. "I will," Monica promised. "I'm not diving into anything. It's just dinner." But as she drove home through the silent, snow-covered streets, Monica couldn't shake the feeling that it was already more than just dinner. Something about Harrison had reached past all her carefully constructed walls, and that terrified her almost as much as it thrilled her. Christmas morning arrived with Ruby's excited squeals at 5:30. Monica stumbled from bed, grateful she'd had the foresight to wrap presents the week before. Their small apartment might not be much, a cramped 2-bedroom in a building that had seen better decades. But Monica had saved for months to make this Christmas special. A bike with training wheels, a dinosaur excavation kit, new books, and the stuffed triceratops Ruby had been begging for since September. Ruby's joy made every extra shift, every missed meal, every moment of exhaustion worth it. Monica watched her daughter tear through wrapping paper with the singular focus only a 4-year-old could muster, and felt that familiar surge of fierce protectiveness mixed with overwhelming love. Her phone buzzed. A text from Harrison. "Merry Christmas, Monica. I hope Ruby loves whatever Santa brought. Enjoy your day with her." Monica smiled. He'd remembered. Such a small thing, but it mattered. She sent back a quick photo of Ruby amid the wrapping paper chaos, and Harrison responded immediately with a laughing emoji and, "Looks like Christmas was a success." They texted sporadically throughout the day. Nothing deep, just small moments shared. Harrison mentioned he was spending the day with family. Monica told him about Ruby's insistence on wearing her new dinosaur pajamas over her regular clothes. It felt natural, comfortable, like they'd known each other longer than one evening. The week between Christmas and New Year's passed in a blur of work and anticipation. Monica managed the front desk at a dental office during the day and worked as a freelance bookkeeper in the evenings. Unglamorous work, but it paid the bills and gave her flexibility with Ruby's schedule. She'd been careful not to mention the upcoming date to anyone except Jennifer and Caroline, not wanting to jinx it or build it up too much in her mind, but Caroline naturally couldn't contain herself. She called 3 times to discuss outfit options, twice to demand details about the first date, and once just to squeal about how Harrison had apparently told his friend, Caroline's husband Marcus, that Monica was extraordinary. "Those are his exact words, Mon," Caroline gushed over the phone. "Marcus said Harrison hasn't been this interested in anyone since, well, in a very long time." "Since what?" Monica asked, catching the pause. "I don't know the details," Caroline admitted. "Marcus doesn't talk about it much. Something happened in Harrison's past, something that changed him. But apparently, you're the first person he's wanted to pursue anything with in years." Monica filed that information away, adding it to the growing collection of mysteries surrounding Harrison. The photo of the boy on his phone, the shadow that crossed his face when he mentioned his life taking an unexpected turn. The children's book he'd been reading, pieces of a puzzle she didn't yet understand. Their second date was set for Friday evening at a small Italian restaurant in the North End. This time, Monica arranged childcare days in advance. Jennifer had agreed to keep Ruby overnight, insisting Monica shouldn't feel pressured to rush home. Monica arrived exactly on time, determined not to repeat her catastrophic lateness. Harrison was already there, standing outside the restaurant despite the bitter cold, and his face lit up when he saw her. "You look beautiful," he said, and Monica felt heat rise to her cheeks. She'd splurged on a new dress, nothing extravagant, but it fit well and made her feel confident. "You waited outside?" Monica asked. "It's freezing." "I wanted to see you arrive," Harrison said simply, opening the restaurant door for her. "Last time I got to watch you walk in looking like you'd fought a war with Boston traffic and won. This time, I wanted to see you without the panic." They were seated at a quiet corner table, and the conversation picked up where it had left off on Christmas Eve. Harrison asked about Ruby's Christmas, seemed genuinely interested in Monica's work, made her laugh with stories about his more eccentric clients. The ease between them was remarkable, as if they were old friends reconnecting rather than near strangers on a second date. But midway through dinner, Monica decided to address the elephant in the room. "Can I ask you something?" she said, setting down her fork. "And you can tell me if it's too personal." Harrison's expression grew guarded, but he nodded, of course. "The little boy in your phone's wallpaper. Who is he?" The silence that followed felt eternal. Harrison's jaw tightened, and for a moment, Monica thought he might shut down completely, might ask for the check and end the evening right there. She'd overstepped, pushed too soon, let her curiosity override her judgment. But then Harrison spoke, his voice rough with emotion. His name was Daniel, my son. Was. Past tense. Monica's heart dropped. "He died 5 years ago," Harrison continued, staring at his wine glass. "Brain tumor. He was 8 years old. We did everything, every treatment, every experimental trial, every prayer and hope and desperate bargain. But sometimes medicine fails. Sometimes prayers go unanswered. Harrison, I'm so sorry," Monica whispered, her own eyes burning with tears. "I shouldn't have asked." "No," Harrison said, finally meeting her gaze. "I'm glad
Daniel
you did. is the most important part of my life. Pretending he didn't exist to make conversation easier would be a betrayal of his memory. What was he like?" Harrison's expression softened. "Curious. Funny. He asked about 1,000,000 questions a day. He loved dinosaurs, actually. Ruby would have adored him. He wanted to be a paleontologist when he grew up." He paused, struggling with the words. He was reading The Velveteen Rabbit when he got too sick to finish it. "I've been trying to finish it for him for 5 years now. Can't seem to get past the same chapter." Monica reached across the table and took his hand. "And his mother?" "Vanessa left 6 months after Daniel's diagnosis," Harrison said, his voice flat. "She couldn't handle it. The treatments, the hospital visits, watching our son deteriorate. She just walked away, filed for divorce while Daniel was in the ICU. I haven't seen her since the funeral, and even then she stayed for less than an hour." The pieces clicked into place, the shadow Monica had sensed, the unexpected turn his life had taken, the careful way he'd responded when she mentioned Ruby. Harrison wasn't just a successful businessman, he was a father who'd lost everything. "That's why you waited for me on Christmas Eve," Monica said suddenly, "even though I was late, because you understand what it's like to put your child first." Harrison squeezed her hand. "I waited because from the moment Caroline mentioned you were a single mother, I was intrigued. Not despite it, but because of it. You're raising a daughter on your own, working 2 jobs, making it work against all odds. That takes a kind of strength most people never develop." They talked for hours, the conversation shifting from grief to healing to hope. Harrison told her about the foundation he'd started in Daniel's name, funding pediatric cancer research. Monica shared stories about Ruby's birth, about the terror and joy of being solely responsible for another human being, about the unexpected ways motherhood had transformed her. "I need to tell you something," Monica said as they prepared to leave. "Ruby's father, Trevor, he didn't just leave. He denied she was his, told me to handle it on my own or give her up for adoption. I haven't heard from him in over 3 years. His loss," Harrison said firmly, "and Ruby's gain, because she has you." They walked through the North End's narrow streets, past twinkling lights and late-night cafes. Harrison kept his hand at the small of Monica's back, a gentle, protective gesture that made her feel simultaneously safe and vulnerable. "Monica," Harrison said as they reached her car, "I need to be honest with you about something. I haven't dated anyone since Vanessa left. Haven't wanted to. The idea of opening myself up to that kind of pain again seemed impossible." He paused. "But then I met you, and for the first time in 5 years, I felt like maybe I could try. Maybe I could let someone in again." "That terrifies me," Monica admitted. "Not you, but what this could become. I have Ruby to think about. I can't bring someone into her life unless I'm sure." "I wouldn't expect you to," Harrison said. "We'll take this as slow as you need. I'm not going anywhere." He kissed her then, soft and tentative, a question and a promise all at once. Monica melted into it, into him, feeling walls she'd built for 3 years begin to crack. When they pulled apart, Harrison rested his forehead against hers. "There's something else I need to tell you," he said, "something important. But I want to wait until I'm sure this, us, is something real." Monica's stomach fluttered with both anticipation and apprehension. "Should I be worried?" "No," Harrison assured her. "I hope not anyway. It's just complicated." They said goodnight, and Monica drove home with her mind spinning. What was Harrison hiding? Was it about his late son, his ex-wife, his business? And more importantly, why did she already care so much about a man she'd known for less than 2 weeks? Her phone buzzed. "Harrison, thank you for listening tonight, for not running when I told you about Daniel. You're remarkable, Monica Harper." Monica smiled, typing back, "Thank you for trusting me with his story." "Sleep well, Harrison." But as she pulled into her apartment's parking lot, Monica saw something that made her blood run cold. A familiar blue sedan parked in the visitor's spot, a car she'd hoped never to see again. Trevor was here. Monica sat in her car, hands gripping the steering wheel so tightly her knuckles turned white. The blue sedan hadn't moved. Through the falling snow, she could make out a figure in the driver's seat, illuminated intermittently by the glow of a phone screen. Trevor. 3 years, 2 months, and 17 days since she'd last seen him. Not that she'd been counting. She'd tried so hard not to count, not to measure her life by his absence, not to let his abandonment define her. But here he was, materializing like a ghost on the first night she'd allowed herself to imagine a different future. Monica considered calling the police, but what would she say? Her ex-boyfriend was sitting in a public parking lot. He hadn't technically done anything wrong. Yet. She pulled out her phone and texted Jennifer. "Trevor is here, outside my apartment. Don't bring Ruby home tomorrow until I figure out what he wants." Jennifer's response was immediate. "Are you kidding me? Do you want me to come over? I can be there in 20 minutes. "No. I need to handle this myself. Just keep Ruby safe." Monica took 3 deep breaths, checked that her phone was fully charged, and stepped out of her car. The cold hit her like a physical force, but it was nothing compared to the ice that flooded her veins as Trevor's car door opened. He looked different. Thinner, with a beard she'd never seen him wear, dressed in an expensive coat that seemed at odds with the man who'd once claimed he couldn't afford child support. He raised one hand in an awkward wave. "Monica, hi. What are you doing here?" Her voice came out stronger than she felt. "I needed to talk to you. I tried calling, but I think you blocked my number. I blocked it 3 years ago, the day you told me to give our daughter up for adoption." Monica crossed her arms. "So I'll ask again, what are you doing here?" Trevor shifted uncomfortably, snow gathering in his hair. "Can we go inside? It's freezing out here." "Absolutely not. You have 5 minutes, and then I'm calling the police." "Monica, please. I know I messed up." "Messed up?" Monica's carefully controlled composure cracked. "You didn't mess up, Trevor. You abandoned your pregnant girlfriend. You denied your own child. You disappeared without a trace for over 3 years. That's not messing up. That's making a choice." "I was scared," Trevor said. And Monica hated how his voice still carried that familiar tone, the one that used to make her believe his excuses. "I was 27, barely making rent, and the idea of being a father terrified me. I panicked. And now? What's different now?" Trevor looked down at his expensive shoes, at the snow gathering around them. "My father died 6 weeks ago." Monica's anger faltered slightly. She'd met Trevor's father once, a cold, demanding man who'd made it clear Trevor would never measure up to his expectations. "I'm sorry for your loss. Don't be. He was a terrible person." Trevor's laugh was bitter, but he left me everything. His business, his properties, more money than I knew what to do with. And suddenly, I could afford to be a father. I could afford to do the right thing. The words hit Monica like a slap. "You think fatherhood is about affording it? You think that's what stopped you? That's not what I meant. Ruby needed a father when I was working 2 jobs and skipping meals so she could eat. She needed a father when she had croup at 2 in the morning and I had to rush her to the emergency room alone. She needed a father on her first day of preschool when she cried because all the other kids had daddies." Monica's voice broke. "She doesn't need someone who shows up with money when it's convenient." "I want to meet her," Trevor said quietly. "I want to be part of her life. I know I don't deserve it. But she deserves to know her father." Monica felt the world tilt. This was her worst nightmare. The scenario that had haunted her since the day Ruby was born. Trevor coming back, demanding rights, disrupting the life they'd built. Courts favored fathers, even absent ones. Money talked. And Trevor apparently had plenty of it now. "You gave up that right," Monica said. But her voice lacked conviction. "Did I? Legally?" Trevor took a step closer. "Monica, I don't want to fight you. I don't want lawyers and courts and custody battles. I just want a chance to know my daughter. To be the father I should have been from the beginning." "It's been 3 years, Trevor. She doesn't know you exist. How do you think that conversation goes? Ruby, this is your daddy who didn't want you when you were born but changed his mind when he got rich?" "I don't know," Trevor admitted, "but we can figure it out together. I'll go slow. I'll do whatever you think is best. I need to try." Monica's phone buzzed. A text from Harrison. "Home safe. Can't stop thinking about tonight. About you." The contrast was stark and cruel. Harrison, who'd lost his son and would give anything for one more day with him. Trevor, who'd willingly abandoned his daughter and now wanted back in her life. The universe had a twisted sense of irony. "I need time," Monica said finally. "Time to think. Time to figure out what's best for Ruby. You don't get to show up after 3 years and demand access to her life. I'm not demanding anything. I'm asking. Begging, if that's what it takes. Give me your number. I'll call you when I've decided how to handle this." Trevor recited the digits, and Monica saved them with shaking hands. He lingered for a moment, as if hoping for more, then nodded and returned to his car. Monica watched him drive away, then collapsed against her own vehicle, her legs suddenly unable to support her weight. She couldn't go inside. Not yet. Not when her apartment would feel too empty, too quiet, too filled with questions she had no answers for. Instead, she sat in her car and called the one person who might understand. Harrison answered on the second ring. "Monica, is everything okay?" "No," she said, and then the tears came. "No, it's really not. Where are you? Are you safe?" "I'm home. I'm safe. Monica struggled to breathe through the sobs. "Ruby's father showed up tonight, out of nowhere. He wants to meet her, to be part of her life." The silence on the other end stretched long enough that Monica thought the call had dropped. Then Harrison spoke, his voice careful. "What do you want to do?" "I don't know. I don't know anything anymore. This morning I was worried about what to pack for Ruby's lunch. Tonight I'm trying to figure out how to explain to my daughter that the father who abandoned her suddenly wants to play daddy. Can I come over?" Harrison asked. "Or meet you somewhere? You shouldn't be alone right now." Monica wanted to say yes, wanted Harrison's steady presence, his understanding, his strength. But something held her back. "I think I need to process this on my own tonight. But thank you. Really." "Monica, listen to me." Harrison's voice was firm but gentle. "Whatever you decide, whatever happens with Ruby's father, it doesn't change anything between us. You're not in this alone anymore. Not if you don't want to be." After they hung up, Monica sat in the silent car and forced herself to think rationally. Trevor had rights, theoretically. He'd never signed away his parental claims. But he'd also never established paternity, never paid a cent of support, never shown any interest until now. A good lawyer could probably keep him at bay, at least temporarily. But did Monica want to keep him at bay? Did Ruby deserve the chance to know her biological father, even if he'd failed her spectacularly? Or would introducing Trevor into their lives cause more harm than good? Monica thought about Harrison's story, about Daniel, about the gaping hole a child's absence left in a parent's life. Harrison would give anything to have his son back. Was Monica being selfish by even considering denying Trevor the chance to know Ruby? But then she remembered Ruby asking why she didn't have a daddy, remembered the look of confusion and hurt on her daughter's face. She remembered working double shifts while pregnant, because Trevor had refused to help. Remembered the crushing loneliness of early motherhood with no partner to share the burden. Her phone rang. Jennifer. "I just put Ruby to bed, and I need you to tell me everything," her sister said without preamble. Monica recounted the parking lot confrontation, Trevor's inheritance, his request to meet Ruby. Jennifer listened without interrupting, which was unusual enough that Monica knew her sister was genuinely concerned. "What are you going to do?" Jennifer asked finally. "I have no idea." "Do you think he's genuine, or is this some kind of guilt trip thing that'll fade once the novelty wears off? I don't know. The Trevor I knew was selfish and immature, but he wasn't cruel. He was just weak." Monica rubbed her temples. Maybe people change. Maybe inheriting his father's fortune gave him some kind of perspective. Or maybe money just makes it easier to play hero, Jennifer countered. "Mon, I know you want to do the right thing for Ruby, but you also need to protect her, and yourself." After they hung up, Monica finally went inside. Her apartment felt strange, familiar but foreign, as if seeing it through new eyes. Everything here represented her life with Ruby. The tiny shoes by the door, the drawings stuck to the refrigerator with alphabet magnets, the pile of picture books on the coffee table. Their world, complete and self-contained. Was she being selfish by wanting to keep it that way? Monica pulled out her laptop and spent the next 3 hours researching parental rights, custody laws, and paternity establishment. The more she read, the more her anxiety grew. Trevor could demand a paternity test. If it came back positive, which it would, he could petition for visitation rights, maybe even partial custody. Massachusetts courts favored parental involvement, even from previously absent parents who suddenly got their act together. She was still reading when her phone buzzed at 2 a.m. "Harrison, I know you're probably asleep, but I wanted you to know I'm thinking about you. Whatever you decide about Ruby's father, I support you. You're an incredible mother, and you'll make the right choice." Monica stared at the message, at this man who'd entered her life less than 2 weeks ago, but somehow felt essential. A man who understood loss and parenthood in ways Trevor never could. A man who'd waited for her despite her chaos. And then a terrible thought struck her. What if she had to choose? What if Trevor made things complicated enough that Harrison decided the drama wasn't worth it? What if she lost this fragile, beautiful thing that was growing between them before it ever had a chance to fully bloom? Monica typed and deleted 3 different responses before finally settling on, "Thank you. That means more than you know. Talk tomorrow?" "Anytime. Sleep well, Monica." But sleep didn't come. Monica lay in bed, watching the ceiling, playing out scenarios. Introducing Ruby to Trevor, keeping him away. Courts and lawyers. Ruby growing up resenting her for denying her a relationship with her father. Ruby growing up damaged by a father who'd already proven he could walk away. At 6 in the morning, Monica made her decision. She would give Trevor a chance, but on her terms. Supervised visits, slow introduction. And the first sign that he was going to hurt Ruby, he was gone forever. She texted Trevor, "We need to talk. Coffee tomorrow at 10. Hartley's on Main Street. Come alone." His response was immediate, "I'll be there. Thank you, Monica. You won't regret this." But as Monica finally drifted into an uneasy sleep, one question haunted her. What if she already did? The coffee shop was nearly empty when Monica arrived, 10 minutes early despite her exhaustion. She'd barely slept, her mind cycling through worst-case scenarios until dawn. Jennifer had texted twice, offering to come along for moral support, but Monica had declined. This conversation needed to happen without an audience. Trevor walked in exactly at 10, looking as nervous as Monica felt. He ordered a black coffee and sat across from her, hands wrapped around the cup like he needed the warmth. "Thank you for agreeing to meet," he began. Monica cut straight to the point. "If you want to meet Ruby, there are conditions, non-negotiable ones. Of course, anything. First, you don't meet her until I'm absolutely certain you're serious about this. That means regular meetings with me first. I need to know you're stable, committed, and genuinely interested in being a father, not just easing your guilt." Trevor nodded. "That's fair. Second, when you do meet her, it's supervised. By me. In public places. You don't get alone time with her until you've proven yourself trustworthy. Understood. Third, you don't make promises you can't keep. Ruby is 4 years old. If you tell her you'll be at her preschool play, you better be there. If you say you'll take her to the zoo, it happens. She's already growing up without a father. I won't let you disappoint her repeatedly. I won't," Trevor said firmly. "Monica, I know I have no right to ask for your trust, but I'm different now. My father's death. It made me realize I was becoming him. Cold, disconnected, running from anything that required real emotional investment. I don't want to be that person." Monica studied his face, searching for signs of deception. She'd loved this man once, thought they'd build a life together. That felt like a lifetime ago. "Tell me about your life now," she said. "Your job, where you live, what you do with your time." Trevor explained that he'd inherited his father's commercial real estate company. He'd been working there for 2 years before his father died, learning the business, trying to earn approval he never received. Now he was running it, overseeing properties across New England. "I have a house in Newton, 4 bedrooms, big backyard. I kept thinking how Ruby would love it, how I could put up a swing set, maybe get a dog." He paused. "I know I'm getting ahead of myself, but I can't stop imagining what it could be like." "Ruby loves dinosaurs," Monica said quietly. "She wants to be a paleontologist. She's terrified of the dark, but fearless on playground equipment. She asks approximately 800 questions per day. Her favorite food is mac and cheese, but only the kind with the powder, not the creamy kind. She has your eyes." Trevor's expression crumbled. "I've missed so much." "Yes, you have. And you can't get that time back. No amount of money or good intentions will give you those first 3 years." Monica's voice hardened. "But if you're serious, truly serious, you can be there for the years to come. On Ruby's timeline, not yours." When can I meet her?" "Not yet. We meet again next week. Same time, same place. We do this every week for at least a month. You tell me about your life, I tell you about Ruby. You prove you're consistent. Then we talk about introduction logistics." Trevor looked disappointed, but didn't argue. They talked for another hour, awkward and careful, 2 people trying to navigate impossible terrain. When they finally parted ways, Monica felt drained but oddly relieved. She'd set boundaries. She'd taken control of the situation. Her phone rang as she reached her car. "Harrison, how did it go?" he asked. Monica found herself smiling despite everything. "Better than expected. We're taking it slow, but I think maybe it could work. I'm proud of you. That couldn't have been easy. It wasn't. But Harrison, I need to ask you something." Monica hesitated. "You said you had something important to tell me. Something complicated. I think I need to know what it is." The silence stretched long enough that Monica wondered if the connection had failed. Then Harrison spoke, his voice tight. "Can I see you tonight? This isn't a conversation for the phone." They agreed to meet at a park near Monica's apartment at 7. Monica spent the day with Ruby, who Jennifer had brought home that afternoon. Her daughter chattered about staying at Aunt Jennifer's house, about the pancakes they'd made for breakfast, about a cartoon she'd watched. Normal, beautiful, uncomplicated 4-year-old joy. Monica hugged her daughter tighter than usual, breathing in the scent of her strawberry shampoo, grateful beyond measure for this perfect little human who'd saved her life in ways Ruby would never understand. At 6:30, Jennifer returned to babysit. "You okay?" her sister asked, reading the tension in Monica's face. "I don't know yet, but I will be." Harrison was already at the park when Monica arrived, sitting on a bench despite the cold. He stood when he saw her, and Monica's heart clenched at the anxiety in his expression. "I should have told you this sooner," Harrison began. "But I was afraid you'd run, and I was selfish enough to want more time with you first. You're scaring me. When Daniel died, I threw myself into work, started the foundation, expanded my firm, anything to avoid the emptiness of my house. About a year ago, I funded a startup, a young guy with an incredible idea for sustainable building materials. The company took off faster than anyone expected. Monica waited, confused about where this was going. The founder's name is Marcus Chen. He's married to your friend Caroline." Understanding crashed over Monica like a wave. "You orchestrated the blind date." "No," Harrison said quickly. "Not exactly. Marcus and Caroline were trying to set both of us up with other people for months. We kept refusing. Then Marcus mentioned his wife had a single friend, a mother, someone genuine and kind. And Caroline told him about me. When they realized they were talking about setting us up with each other, they arranged the date. So you knew about me before Christmas Eve? I knew you were a single mother. I knew your name. Caroline might have shown me a photo." Harrison ran his hand through his hair. "But I didn't research you or manipulate the situation. I just agreed to show up. Everything that's happened between us since then has been real." Monica tried to process this information. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because I liked that you didn't know who I was. Most people know my name, know about the foundation, treat me differently because of it. You just saw me as Harrison, some guy who waited too long in a restaurant." He stepped closer. "And then I got to know you, and I fell for you. And every day it got harder to bring up because I was terrified you'd think I'd been dishonest. You were dishonest, by omission. I know. I'm sorry." Harrison's voice broke. "Monica, you're the first person since Daniel died who's made me feel like I could have a future, like maybe I could be happy again. Please don't let my stupidity ruin that." Monica wanted to be angry, wanted to feel betrayed, but she'd kept secrets too, was still keeping one. She hadn't told Harrison about Trevor's return, about the potential complication of Ruby's father entering their lives. "I need to tell you something too," Monica said. "Ruby's father, Trevor, he doesn't just want to meet her. He inherited a fortune. He has resources. If he decides to fight for custody, it could get messy." "Let it get messy," Harrison said fiercely. "I meant what I said. I'm not going anywhere, even if it means lawyers and drama and a complicated situation. Monica, I lost my son. I know what it's like to love a child more than anything in the world. If Ruby's father genuinely wants to be in her life, and if you decide that's what's best for her, I'll support that. It doesn't change how I feel about you." The sincerity in his voice broke through Monica's defenses. She stepped forward and kissed him, pouring 3 years of loneliness and fear and hope into it. Harrison wrapped his arms around her, holding her like she was precious. "I'm falling for you," Monica whispered against his lips. It terrifies me, but I'm falling for you. I already fell, Harrison admitted. The moment you walked into that restaurant 46 minutes late, looking like you'd battled the entire city and won. They stood in the cold park, holding each other. Two broken people finding wholeness in shared understanding. Eventually, Monica pulled back. So what now? She asked. Now we figure it out together. No more secrets. We deal with Trevor. We navigate whatever comes, and we build something real. 6 weeks later, Trevor met Ruby for the first time at the Children's Museum. He'd shown up to every weekly coffee meeting with Monica, had proven himself consistent and committed. Ruby was shy at first, hiding behind Monica's legs, but Trevor had brought a stuffed stegosaurus, and that broke the ice. I like dinosaurs, Ruby announced. Your mom told me, Trevor said softly. I like them too. Monica watched them together, her heart a complicated tangle of emotions. This wasn't the future she'd imagined, but maybe it was the one Ruby deserved. Harrison had been there through all of it, steady and patient. He'd met Ruby 2 weeks earlier, and her daughter had immediately adored him, especially when she learned he'd had a son who also loved dinosaurs. 3 months after that Christmas Eve blind date, Monica stood in her apartment with Ruby asleep in the next room, Harrison's arms around her, and felt something she hadn't experienced in years. Peace. Happy? Harrison murmured against her hair. Terrified, Monica admitted. But yes, happy. Trevor had become a regular presence in Ruby's life. Every other weekend, supervised visits that were gradually extending as he proved himself trustworthy. It wasn't traditional, but it worked. And Harrison had become something else entirely. A partner, a support, a man who loved Monica's complicated life because it included her. On a warm spring evening, Harrison took Monica back to Bistro Lumiere, where their story had begun. Over dessert, he pulled out a small velvet box. I know it's fast, he said. And I know we have complicated lives, but Monica Harper, you taught me that it's possible to love again after loss. Will you marry me? Monica looked at this man who'd waited for her, who'd proven himself in every way that mattered, and said the easiest yes of her life. A year later, they stood in that same restaurant for their small wedding reception. Ruby was flower girl, wearing purple rain boots under her fancy dress. Trevor was there too, having evolved from absent father to genuine co-parent. Jennifer cried. Caroline took approximately 800 photos. And as Monica danced with her husband, watching Ruby giggle as Trevor spun her in circles, she marveled at how a catastrophically late blind date had led to this. A messy, imperfect, absolutely perfect life.